Hello everybody, Project Cardboard, and this is a DIY video of the version 2 of Dome of the Rock. I made this model before, and I'm going to be making it again, and this time it is much better. I'm going to be more explaining than yapping this time. So first things first, I'm cutting out the side walls. Now for this I'm using a felting needle and a X-Acto knife, of course, as always, and it's very important to have fresh blades as well. Right now I am making the baseboard. The dotted line you will see is for scoring. You score it and fold out the tabs, which will help with adding on the first layer of walls, which we will see in a bit. Here I am adding in the first layer of the walls. So what this first layer wall is, it just creates layers in the design. So you just place it on, and I'm doing a new design here where I'm not using tabs for any gluing. I'm putting the glue directly onto the edges and just connecting them together. When you're scoring, be very careful. You don't want to cut through it. If you do, you'll have to remake the part entirely. What I've done is scored the top of the template by marking here, here, and here, and then flipping the template and scoring it here so that it can fold that way. But then on the other side, on the printing line, I scored lightly only for these flaps, which will then be bent up and then glued like this. These are small tabs that I'm going to use for this part because I'm putting them on the back. And as you can see, I have glued it together and attached the part to this part. I'll put it on the screen so you can see. I glued that right on top, and I did not use tabs for the top part. I just glued it on directly. Now, on top of the roof, on the bottom of the roof, I'm gluing on the outer layer of walls, and you can see how that goes on. And again here, I'm not using any tabs to glue the walls on, I'm just holding them on with the glue. It's pretty tedious. Use tweezers if you have to. Now I am marrying the two parts together, and as you can read, do not glue them together for now. For now we're just placing them on just to protect the delicate outer layer, which is the top one I'm putting on top, and then I'm just like settling it in there. It's just better, and we can keep these two parts separate, which will help us later on. Now I'm getting started on the, I guess, neck, you could say. It's the part that's right underneath the dome. So this part is pretty straightforward. The templates have a little square box. I'll put an image on it online on the screen to show you where to connect these two pieces, because you can't print these whole pieces on a piece of paper unless using a huge like A0 piece of paper. So I had to cut it in half. So you glue them together, as you can see, with a simple tab. The wider the tab, the better. Now I'm rolling it with the classic technique of pressing a cylinder across the paper, and it'll naturally cause it to make a beautiful roll. The bigger thing you use, the better and the smoother your roll will be. Make sure your hands are really clean for this because you don't want to stain the paper. What I do is I wash my hands with soap before every project. Now I'm inserting it, and I'll explain real quick how you do it so that it fits nicely. This part is being held on by no glue, only tension, because it is extremely tight if you try to glue both edges and then insert it. So you insert it just loose, and then once it's in, you can stretch it to fit. Then now we can take some pieces of paper as such, bend them, and then glue it at the back to hold it in. In here, just some rectangles around here so that we can have some more layering through the windows inside that building to get some more light play. Now we're going to go pillar by pillar by pillar by pillar by pillar by pillar and glue them down onto the baseboard. This will take time, but we have to do it. We can't use tabs because of such a small scale that we're working at. So you just put a dot of glue on a small piece of paper like this, and then I tap it down there Then I use my knife or tweezers, I'll probably use tweezers after this, and just align it in and hold it there still while pressing it down to glue it onto that baseboard. What these holes in there allow you to do is put a finger in and then push up on this outer roof while pushing this down to make sure that this is flush. Okay, if you just try to press it, you'll get messed up and you'll end up crushing these pillars, which are extremely delicate. So you have to put your finger in there, hold that down, push this down, and you have to pull this up while pushing this down. It's pretty easy, just put your fingers. A quick trick for a part like this. So this is going to be, we're going to make like a kind of thick part using these two, but to do that, to put that width, we're going to fold these flaps inwards. Now a trick, because we don't want these black print lines to be on the outside of the model, of course, we want to invert everything so that it's a pure white model on the outside. So to do that, how do we do that? Well, we use a light source. So if you have tons of money, then what you can do is get a light box. If not, you can just use whatever video light you happen to have. Or what I used to do all the time is use a window, which works just fine as well. Just put your paper up to the window with the print line side facing out. So I'm going to face this out, so now I'm looking at the white side and put on top of my light. Then I'll trace with my knife, being very careful, just scoring along all those lines, and I'll show you a detail of what that looks like. So the light illuminates it from the back so you can see, and you can just start to score along these lines. So now we just start bending them down. This is oddly satisfying. We're just going to bend these all down. I stacked some paper to make up for the thickness, and I'm going to glue the bottom piece onto it. Bismillah. So now I'm going to glue this top part, and each of these little rectangles on each side of the circle needs to align with this gap, in which you will see these black lines from the printing. So you line it up as such. So this is quite possibly the most complicated part of this entire build. So I came up with a way to make it. This is the dome, which is going to go atop this building. So to do it, on the template, you'll see this side with these dashes. So what you're supposed to do is use your knife to cut on the dashes. Cut along these dashes, just this line and this line. Then what you do is you turn your paper around and use those dashes as a guide. So you go from one dash to the other and score very lightly. You're doing extremely light scores, just like this. I'm not pressing, I'm just dragging, just to get the lightest indentation, like that. Very light drag all across, and then I'll film and update you with the next step. So I finished scoring, as I explained in the last clip. So now what I'm going to do is turn it back to the printed side. And now I'm going to cut out these strips as normal. Look how satisfying that is. Absolutely. There's that tendonism. Feel me? And here it is. I actually scored the horizontal lines as well, just scoring on the other side. So that gives us a really nice pattern on the dome. And you can see how it looks as the light plays along it. It's pretty beautiful. And the second one I made was much better than the first. You might have to make them twice because The dome is the most difficult part. It's the most tedious part, actually. It's not the hardest part, but the most tedious. These are the little doors, the kind of like arches. So all these pieces, I already cut one out and made it, are the pillars, and these are absolutely minuscule pieces. They're literally smaller in surface area than my thumb. So this for felting, what you do is you press it on, just give it that U shape. Then you go to the tip and press it in, give it that U shape. Do it more, and now you just pull it in with your fingers. And it's so small where it can't crease at this small size, but what it does is it kind of rolls in on itself. And for a part like this, I wouldn't even use glue to like seal the edge or anything, because it's so small. Once you bend it, it's not going to roll back. Now you can see the parts. They turned out actually much better than I expected, and I'm so happy that the templates are so precise as they are. So as you can see, here I am fitting it on, and we have neared the end of the build. And that is the completed version 2 of the Dome of the Rock paper model, guys. This one turned out exponentially better than my first attempt at this particular project a couple years back, actually. This took me a month to finish. I used SketchUp, Inkscape, and hand drawings just to really get the design down pat, and I think it paid off. The biggest challenge here was trying to make it like not so frustrating and like too many like roundabout ways to build the geometry of this model. So I had to really figure out what's the simplest way to make these parts go together and make up for the thickness of the paper and a lot of other different things that go into paper craft. My main goal was keeping all the printed lines on the inside of the model, which is actually the hardest part of making these paper model templates for printables, because you don't want to have the printing lines on the outside, so everything has to be like reversed. But the effort was 100% worth it, because this end result is exactly what I had been expecting from that. So a huge advice for stuff like this is do not rush. Rushing is the killer for projects like this. It has 8 sides and a lot of repetitive steps, so it's definitely more tedious than it is difficult. If you want to build one for your own desk, I have put the templates actually on Payhip. You'll find it in the description and in the first comment, maybe. You can get them there and download them and build it yourself. Anyone can appreciate the beautiful architecture that this building has to offer. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. This was very fun for me. This was probably my favorite model that I made within the past year, if I'm being honest. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys within the next video. Thank you.